What is going on, beautiful humans? Welcome to the Ryan Magic Show. You're here with another solo episode where I'm going to be giving advice today, talking about rapid growth to your first $1 million in business. So for anyone that's kind of a startup or either under six figures, multi six figures, it's about rapid growth. How do you transcend? What are the principles for rapid growth in business? And I'm fucking pumped to talk about this. And so I'm on a couch right now. I'm looking fabulous. If you can't see what I'm looking like, I'm wearing like a leopard print tank top, got my nails painted. We got Bo sitting on the couch on the other side, and he's going to be asking me questions. We still don't have the audio sorted out properly. So I'm going to repeat the questions that Bo asks just in case you can't hear it in the background. All good. We're being messy. We're moving. We're creating progress. And I also wanted to say, I'm coaching at the moment. So I'm keen to find new clients. If you're someone that wants to get rapid growth and you find value from the podcast, shoot me a message on Instagram. Do it anyway, just to say hello and connect in. Because if someone shoots me a message on Instagram, what I do is I stalk them, get to know them, and I go, this is someone in my field now. And then I like having this relationship with people that connect with my stuff, and they're in my periphery and we're in each other's energetic field. And I'd love to connect with you. So please shoot me a message. And if you're looking for coaching, just reach out saying, hey, I'm curious about coaching. What do you got going on? And then we'll have a little chat and see if there's any alignment there, if you're ready to crush it. So, Bo, where are we going to start with this?
First thing I want to ask.
It's a great question. So the question is, what are some of the common misconceptions that people think they need to do when they're like trying to grow their business to get it off the ground? Okay, I could take this question anywhere, but I'm just going to say, first and foremost, talk about the things that don't matter when you're starting a business, and just quickly touch on the fact that there's a huge difference between all the content covered in this video and then the principles needed to scale a business. We were talking about this in the spa before we started this. And that is, when you're growing a business, initially, it's all about quick moving. It's about mess. It's about marketing and sales. It's about being audacious, and it's kind of just like a street fighter, like you're in a war and you're just going at it, war zone time, warrior mode. Whereas when you're scaling a business, and the scale point for different business niches and industry types and business models is different, but it's the point in which you need to start having operational rigor, people and processes for the business to scale. The culture becomes important, and the leadership style that's needed to grow it involves a lot more groundedness. And so that same incessant, crazy, messy, rapid growth style doesn't land as well and doesn't work. And I experienced this when I was scaling Winning International, which is the largest business that I've run. We would get 17 team members, and then we'd have high staff turnover. So staff would leave, then I'd hire a bunch more, staff would leave, hire a bunch more, and I couldn't scale the business past 4 mil, past 4 mil, but I couldn't scale it past 5 mil a year. With the way that I was operating it, and I was relying on the strategy and the principles and the mindset that I'm going to share in this video to try to scale, and it doesn't work. It worked to grow to the initial point, but then to take it to the next level with people and processes, it didn't work. And that's an important distinction. So in this, it's going to be about the initial rapid growth. Hitting your other question, or hitting the actual question, which is, what are the misconceptions? The things that don't matter initially is branding. It's not that important initially. So people put time into what's not important is what is important is anything that's going to create revenue. And what's not important is anything else, essentially. And so you could say, well, your product doesn't create revenue. And that's true. And it's usually less important because people usually have a great product. That's not usually the problem. Like when someone goes to start a business, if it's a coach, no matter what it is, usually people have enough competence and the product's good enough to start at least. It's going to iterate naturally over time. But unless you're trying to launch a business to get it to 100 mil, like trying to find one of those whale businesses that just blow up and it's like a unicorn business. A unicorn in the entrepreneurial space is when a company hits $1 billion. And for $1 billion business, you're trying to create some gap in the market, unique value proposition business that solves a problem that's never been seen before. And it's going to either sink or swim. And, but for most entrepreneurs like myself or you, Bo, because you're still an entrepreneur, and the listeners, we have smaller businesses. Like I've got a vision to grow and challenge my skills as an entrepreneur and continue to make more and more money, more and more impact, scale bigger and bigger, and just challenge myself because it's fun to be challenged. But I'm not running a business that a unicorn style business. And you don't have to. Most people kind of like watch movies like The Social Network or Founder. So The Social Network about Facebook, or Founder about McDonald's. And they're like, how do I create something like that? It has to be some unique thing that hasn't been done before. But I tell people initially to go after the demand, go where there's competition. So for example, being a personal trainer, you could easily say, well, there's so many personal trainers out there. How would I ever make it? And it's like, that's a good thing because it's showing you that you're in a space where there's definitely a demand. People want the offer. And then all you need to do is like, if there's a huge circle that represents all the market share of people wanting help with fitness in Australia, it's massive. It might be like a $10 billion industry or whatever it is. And so all you need to do to have like a $5 million business or a $500,000 business is take like a pinprick of that market share. And you just have to be slightly better than other people and put effort into marketing and sales. And so in summarizing this down, people waste time on a lot of things that are just procrastination tasks. They try to stay busy. They try to get excited about like their logo, about trying to make things too right and too perfect. And like, it makes me sick doing that because I know that I'm wasting my money. So let's say let's just use me right now in the position of about to launch and scale a new business, which is a 6-month coaching program. All I'm thinking about is putting money into Facebook ads. They're going to get me a return. And all I'm thinking about is getting that return. I've got money with this podcast, which is a long-term investment in my brand. That's a little bit different as a coach in general. But when it comes to this business, the only thing I'm thinking about is putting money into ads because that's the only thing that's going to provide a return. Anything else that I do, like I don't want to build a new website. I don't give a shit what the brand looks like. All I want to do is get clients in there. So all I want to do is spend time closing people into that. And then I can start to sharpen up because people like, let's say in this, what people care about with this product as a coach is they want to get results. So if someone works with me over 6 months and I'm helping them grow their business, all they care about is my devotion to supporting them to get there. And what I lack in systems or perfection of the product, I can make up for with one-to-one time. I've got that luxury at this point. And so I know that I can deliver. What I need to focus on is marketing and sales. And that's going to move the lever of and determine whether I make over $1 million. My goal is to do 1.2 million with this business over the next year, which is like it's a great goal. It's very achievable. It's not many clients. And it's going to be purely based upon whether or not I'm onboarding people. So marketing and sales is all that really matters. Yeah. So Bo's like, what if people aren't experts at more advanced strategies like Facebook ads? Where do they start? And what sort of strategies can they do? And I'm going to share a model that I followed myself. It's like a metaphor that I created for me to start with that broke me through initially. So when I finally had my big breakthrough in business and I went from zero to $1 million in sales in 10 months and from scratch in a coaching business, there was a specific philosophy that I was following. And it was something that I modeled from my first investment in the $50,000 mentor that I had, Travis Jones, who owns a gym chain in Melbourne called Results-Based Training across Australia. And I just witnessed this guy before I signed up to this thing. And the reason I signed up to it was because I needed accountability, like just with the money, nothing to do with even the delivery of his program. It was like, I just need to show the universe that I'm going to make this happen and put myself into a corner where I only have the choice to succeed with my dream. But what I noticed with him was that he just took so much action. And at that point, I'd been so paralyzed with action taking, that I was making barely any progress, and I was overthinking things, and I was scared to launch and try different things. And he was just like messy, moving like crazy. And when I contrasted myself and the way that he operated in business versus the way that I did back then, I was like, there is such a difference. Like what this guy was doing in like a week or a month was more than I'd done in my whole business, the 3 or 4 years I'd spent in business up until that point. Or like, and it wasn't because of hours put in, it was just the tasks he was choosing to do were relevant to marketing and sales. And so he was growing his businesses really quickly. And so I came up with this philosophy for myself called the staircase to success. And the way this metaphor works is, and I want you guys, as you're listening or watching this, to visualize that you walk outside the building that you're in right now, and on the middle of the street that's closest to you, there's a ghost staircase that's got no support. But it goes up. This staircase goes up through the clouds, and it just keeps going forever. You see the staircase, and this staircase is representative of the success that you build with your business. It's like the further up the staircase you go, the more successful the business is. And the way it's represented is every 20 steps, there's a flag in the staircase, and it's waving on the material part of the flag, the next financial milestone. And every flag's got a bigger figure on it. So the first one after 20 steps, and I'll talk about the steps in a sec, might say $3,000 per week. Then the next one might say $4,000 a week, might say $12,000 a week, might say $37,000 a week. And every 20 steps that you go up, there's a new flag waving a bigger financial milestone. Now, in order to, like, what a step is a on the business action, not an in the business action, but a revenue impacting marketing or sales initiative. And so I want you to imagine, as you're like visualizing this staircase, like actually close your eyes and visualize this ghost staircase outside your current property that you're in right now as you're listening to this. Or if you're in a car, it's like on the road that you're on right now, that you're driving past. And I want you to see and imagine hovering above every step, kind of like a video game. There's a red or green bubble above every step. The green bubble has a plus sign on it, and the red bubble has a minus sign. So it might be like red, 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 green, green, red, green, red, 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 green, green, green. And it just goes the whole way up, all the way up the staircase. And so every time you do an on the business action, what I want to encourage you to understand is, like, if we dissect an individual step and we go the vertical part of the step as you're kind of moving up like 20 centimeters or 30 centimeters or however high the step is, that symbolizes the action. And then the horizontal symbolizes the results. And this is the way that most people look at taking action, especially when it comes to marketing and stuff in their business. This is why they don't grow rapidly when it comes to business growth in their business and struggle to get to $1 million. It's because with every action that they take, they're associating a result. So let's say they want to do a Facebook ad. They might spend like 6 weeks to 3 months trying to get this Facebook ad right, because once they step up and on the vertical side, they're looking at that action, they're associating a result to it. And they're very attached to that result because they're playing with attachment to results. And so they're not taking much action. Six weeks to 3 months to do one funnel for your coaching business is a huge amount of time, and it's probably not going to work. It's probably going to have a red bubble hovering above it. So what I do is I cross out the word results on the horizontal side of every step, and I just put progress there. And what I want you guys listening with this metaphor to take on board is that it doesn't fucking matter which bubble you have for each step. Doesn't matter. It could be like 7 reds in a row. 7, like that means, okay, I tried a LinkedIn reach out strategy, experimented on a given week, reached out to 40 people, and I didn't get any prospects. Red. Next one, I launched a Facebook ad. I got no leads. Red. I tried to set up a joint venture partner with a different business that has the same target market or niche, but doesn't have a competing product. So we could cross promote each other. They weren't interested. Red. Then I want to try reaching out to like 20 people in my network that I already know that might be interested. No one buys. Red. And what I want to suggest is that if you can change your association of I need to get results with every step to I don't give a shit whether I get a result from that individual action, I'm just racing up the staircase of success to the next flag. All I'm interested in is hitting step 20. And I didn't give a fuck how perfect or well manicured your funnel is. Launch the fucking funnel. Because that quick paced, messy action is what makes an initial entrepreneur successful. This is why at 21, inexperienced in business and like not only inexperienced in business, but I was coaching people in business. So it's like you could argue that my product lacked experience and substance, but what I lacked in that, I made up for with energy and extra time and extra passion. And all I did was race up that staircase. But even before I launched that business, I wasn't doing that. I used the launch of that business as a catalyst to say, now I'm going to step into the embodied leadership and being a role model. Because now that I'm teaching this shit, I got to do it. And I just started racing up my staircase. So every week I would just list out what I was going to do input wise, action wise on marketing and sales initiatives that were going to get clients or have a chance to get clients. And I didn't give a shit what happened. So for example, sometimes I made a decision I was going to run a seminar a week. So I was at least going up one step a week, but I was doing a bunch of other stuff in between each week's seminar. But sometimes I'd have 3 people at a seminar and I'd often close 3 people as well. So I was often getting greens, but I wasn't attached to the green because I was playing the game for the flags, not the steps. I was playing for progress, not attachment to results. And as a result, because I was taking so much more action, I was learning way quicker. I was becoming a way better entrepreneur, like a really powerful, savvy, strategic entrepreneur. Not because I was learning the theory. I actually stopped reading books roughly a year before I started that business. And I didn't start reading them again or learning anything. Even when I joined masterminds, I wasn't learning anything. I was just implementing what was obvious because I realized that with my own common sense, I was intelligent enough to make the business successful using marketing and sales and going up my steps to success. And so when I said I hired this mentor and I learned this theory, because that model was essentially that mentor that I first worked with, his philosophy, or not even his philosophy, he just did that. I don't know how he learned it or where it came from, but I witnessed it, looked at it, started doing that myself and went, holy shit, this is what I'm actually doing. And I used this metaphor to make it easier for myself to remind myself just to do the steps. And the reason I got from $0 to $1 million a year was not because I was really good at anything in particular, although I am naturally talented at some aspects of business. It was because I was just willing to say, fuck it, and just take action with no attachment and just pride myself on being the biggest action taker. And then I got really good at things. It took me 6 months to get good at Facebook ads, but because I launched so many campaigns, I did get good and I did start getting a great ROI. And that led to lots of results. I got a couple of joint ventures set up that went really well. And I tried anything and everything. So your question was looking for more the specific action steps. Like you said, what are some things that people could do if they're not good at ads? And I would suggest it doesn't matter if you're not good at ads, launch an ad anyway. But some things that I did initially, like I was launching ads every week, like at least a new marketing campaign a week with Facebook ads. Most of them weren't getting results because it took me 6 months to get good, but I was still launching it every week. And the half-life of my improvement, my skill set improvement in Facebook ads was so good. I improved so fast and I got really, really good. And I was doing things. So initially I was just reaching out to everyone I knew. I was adding people on Facebook and then just sending them message. I was adding people that had mutual friends and then saying, hey, how do you know this person? I was just starting conversation, gaining an interest, taking the time to like look at what their business was about and what their dreams were and talking to them and just getting people on the phone and messaging a bunch of people. I was doing that. I was going to networking events a lot because I knew I'd meet a lot of like entrepreneurs and coaches at networking events. I then got sales prospectors, which were just people that I knew that said, hey, how do you feel about this opportunity? And what they would do is they'd go to networking events, spread out, divide and conquer, and bring people to me to pitch. And then if I close them, they would get a solid commission. I was setting up joint venture partnerships. So I was like I set up a joint venture with a guy that ran a Facebook group called I Work in Personal Development, which was full of coaches. And then I just used the way that I used the strategy of partnership creation, which I'd done in previous businesses as well, to that was worth over $1 million for me, that partnership. I set up another partnership with a guy that was like, helped personal trainers with their technical skill improvement. So it was like a movement training business. And then I went in there and started helping the PTs that worked with him to improve their skills. I helped them with business, but I started by helping the main guy. So I did that. So launching Facebook ads. I had a meetup group where I was running seminars every single week. I was going and speaking at other people's meetup groups was another one. I was approaching multi-level marketing team leaders and offering to train their salespeople. I'd train the people in sales. And then I'd talk to the group and then I'd pitch them on my product. So they were some of the things. And that was just like whatever I could think of at the time. Just whatever made sense to me. And so yeah, that's what I did to begin with. And then in the scope of Facebook ads, it was just a shit ton of different ones that I was trying. So it wasn't one particular strategy. It was like webinars, it was challenges, it was let's get people to a local event. It was a seminar tour. I wrote a book. And then I did a seminar tour for the book. And then I upsold people off the back into that. And I had funnels for that. So it was just lots of experimentation. But the key is messy progress. Run up the steps to success. Play for the 20th step and don't give a shit. Don't have any expectation to get results before you hit step 20. And I promise you, you'll fucking crush it if you've got a profitable business model. And how do you know if it's profitable? Again, the demand. Are other people interested in this? Is there competition? Yeah.
So you would have experience scale, grow their business very quickly, and I'm sure you've seen also. So what are some of the qualities?
Yeah. So Bro's question is like, because I've worked with over 1,000 people in this space, like coaches and small business owners. I've seen what works and what doesn't work. Got my peace and presence alarm going off on my phone. And I want to point to one quality, and that is entitlement versus like gratitude. And the way that that looks in business. People getting started in this day and age when we have like a lot of online thought leaders preaching the opportunity of business, often indirectly adopt the belief that it's kind of like a massive opportunity and it's good and better and easy. And therefore they fall into the trap of expecting results to come without giving the equivalent value in return for those results. And so the way that looks, that to me is entitlement. And so I like to backtrack and give people the understanding, because there is bigger opportunities now than normal, but people take it to a pendulum swing where they expect it to be so easy and they're willing to give so little. And even though it's better than like a brick and mortar opportunity from 50 years ago, and easy, accessible, like Gary Vee's always ranting about this, like you can flip stuff from garage sales and stuff, and you can start an e-com store, or you could start a coaching business or a digital. The easiest business ways that you can make money is like closing for somebody else. So becoming like a high ticket closer is like a good way to instantly make money. Becoming a coach, selling digital marketing products, or an e-com store, or being a consultant. These are so fucking easy. And then if you have a service-driven business, even if it's offline, service-driven business of some kind, and then leveraging online marketing and just being a bit better than average, and you can just crush it. So it is easier now. But if you think about like a brick and mortar business, usually what people do when they go to start a business is they first go to the bank, because a brick and mortar business requires startup capital, like let's say on average, like $50,000 to $200,000 to like buy the equipment for your trade business, or to buy all the equipment and the fit out and the coffee machines for the cafe, or like all the hairdressing, or fitting out the hairdressing salon, buying all the chairs and buying all the scissors, and then just like not expecting yourself to get clients to begin with, and you got to pay your staff wages and stuff. So you know you're going to take a loss for the first 6 months, and then the goal usually was, hey, when's my break even point? Expecting the 50K deficit to begin with. I'm already 50K in debt, and then I build back from there, and I got to work damn hard for extended years to build that brick and mortar up to a point where the profit and loss statement goes from being a loss to a profit. where the income's now risen above the cost base required to start up, the startup capital required to get it off the ground. Whereas now the startup capital to start a coaching business is like pretty much nothing. You start it. An e-com store, you might need some stock, a couple of grand of stock if you're not doing drop shipping. And it's just like, it's so easy barrier to entry. So little barrier to entry. And so people just go, oh, like, why am I not getting results yet? They're not doing any steps on their staircase to success. And so when people aren't entitled, if we use the opposite of that, I said gratitude before, but I'd also put abundance in there. And so I feel like entitlement leads to scarcity, because then people are expecting a lot and they're scared that's not going to work. And they're like, why am I not getting results? Why am I not seeing anything? They've done barely any action. They've put barely any money down. So like, if you treat it like a proper business, you've got a lot more of a chance of breaking through. And so the qualities of people that I see, like, I've never had a client that's abundantly invested in ads that hasn't broken through and crushed it. Never. Work in my coaching business. And one thing that helped when I was helping coaches break through and hit 6 and 7 figures, one thing to help with that is that they were all profitable. Like, I wouldn't let people join the program unless I'd approved who they're going to target and the price points and stuff, which is a good base. Like, there's demand that's profitable, so they don't have to worry about the structure being off. But then if they were investing abundantly, they always break through. And so many people are like, well, I want to make $100,000 in my coaching business. And it's like, how much have you spent on ads this year? And most people would be like less than $100. So it's like they're expecting to spend $100 or not even launch any ads, no paid marketing. Maybe they put 5K into a website. Again, that's not revenue generating. A website's just a brochure that sits there. It's kind of like having 10,000 brochures sitting in a box in your room without handing them out, because no one goes to a website if there's no traffic, if you haven't handed the brochures out, or if you haven't paid for people to go to the website. So people, they might spend 5K on that, but people don't spend money on that. So if you put $100 down, expect to make 100 grand, you're expecting 1,000 times ROI. Whereas, like, again, the brick and mortar businesses from the past, they're expecting to have a loss for the first year, 2 years, 3 years. I had a friend of mine that him and some other business partners launched a restaurant together. They put $1 million down and they expected and hoped to break even after 3 years. That was their goal, to break even after 3 fucking years. They put $1 million down. Whereas a coach is putting $100 down and expecting to make 100 grand, like, really quickly. And then they get demotivated and feel down if it's not working. Try putting, like, if anyone on here, whatever your target, 10% of the money of that target financially in your business, put into ads and see what happens. So if you want to make 100 grand, put 10K into ads, which is like $200 a week over a year. So you put $200 a week over a year and see what happens. Because you put $200 in for 4 weeks and you're not getting results. You're going to be chopping it, like, you're going to be changing and iterating and tweaking and trying to make the ads work. There's urgency there. So that's like a really, really good place to start, is just like, be more abundant, be less entitled. Don't just expect the results to come without putting effort in. So a lot of people would be like, well, what you did was easy. Like, you're helping people with this or this, or you already had this experience. And they're like trying to give reasons as to why my business worked and they're struggling. Whereas, like, at 21, I'd already invested $50,000 in a mentor before I even launched the business. Like, I hadn't paid it all, 5K deposit and then $1,000 a week income over the expense over the year. But then I was just willing to invest and do anything required. I was putting money into ads every week. I was hiring people. I had a cost base at one point of over $300,000 a month. So it's like I was investing $300,000 a month to have my business work. And that's pendulum swing the other way, where I was just ridiculously abundant in my expenses, but I was making more than that. So I was getting a great return. So, like, the quality that stops people is entitlement. They're not treating their business like a business. They're treating it like a Tats Auto ticket or something like this, where they're just expecting a quick win without actually putting in the effort to make it work, which seems obvious, but yeah, not so much with the people that I've worked in.
So there's so many people that want business success so so quickly. There's also
Yeah.
so how do you discern that? Expectations. Where does that?
It's a loaded question because there's another factor. So Bro's question was like, there's a lot of people that want to get results early. Where does patience come in? What does that look like? How do people balance their expectations? So you've got the I'm thinking of like someone early, I'm assuming young. When you say, oh, I'm just going to make some assumptions. If someone's young, there's another factor at play. There's two factors at play. There's the idea of just like playing for there's one first concept is prioritize attachment to input. Expect a lot from yourself in terms of what you do. But be patient when it comes to the results. Yeah. And usually what I say is like, if you're a young entrepreneur with a profitable business model, you've got to master marketing and you have to master sales. And usually you'll get no result. Like on Facebook ads, if you've got a bad campaign, you usually get no results. Like no one's going to click it, or it's going to be a really crap return. And so you've got to get to a certain level of competency with marketing and sales before you see any return. Let's say you're trying to sell a $5,000 fitness body transformation program. It's like a 9-month body transformation program that a PT is running. Until they're good enough at sales that they can sell people the result and they can feel really comfortable in themselves and know their own value to stay grounded through objections and whatnot, they're not going to close anyone until they get to a certain level of competency. They will close, like every now and again, they'll close someone, but it's going to be like 10% or less conversion rate. Then when their competency goes above like 80% or 90%, where they become really competent, they'll start closing a lot of people. So the conversion rate might go up to like 50, go from like 10% to 50%, just as it clicks over from being like 80% competent to 90% competent. They could be 85% competent. So they're just not good enough to be closing a lot of deals, feel like they're sucking crap, but they're actually really good. They've got to practice. They've got to get good. And this is why they need attachment to doing a lot of sales calls and then detachment from seeing the results from that until they cross that threshold. And they don't even know what the threshold is because they don't know how good they're doing. And so they've got to have patience and know that if there is a way to master sales, there is a way to master marketing. And when you get them both to click, then you crush it. But anywhere before that, you suck and get barely any results. And this is why so many coaches who attempt to do really well online, other than coaches that have just been around for ages and they're just through having really reasonable prices and showing up and being consistent and being really competent at what they do and building that competency over time, they can have like $100,000, $200,000 business just because they're really good, but they're working full time. They're working a lot. I'm talking about rapid business growth in this podcast with like, let's jump in. You're like good. You're pretty good. Let's take that pretty good coaching skill and let's build a $500,000 business with it, knowing that you're going to become great through the process of that at coaching. That person needs to be competent at marketing and sales and be patient with the growth of that. So like that's the first thing I'd say, like patience when it comes to the outcome, but impatience when it comes to input. So every week going up their staircase to success so they get good at marketing and sales. But the other factor that's important here is like for any people of any age that's starting in business, or if someone's really young and they're starting in business, it's probably because their personality type is wired to value themselves based on their achievement. Like you were given praise by your dad. Your dad's like an business. Oh, it's your uncle. So you have your version of that. My dad was like, I valued success because my dad gave me attention when I succeeded, and he was very critical of me. So I learned to value. Ryan is lovable and praiseworthy and a good person if he's succeeding. So I really trained hard for sport and studied hard for academics because I wanted to be loved by my family. And then I have this narrative embedded into my psyche that achievement equals worthy, not achieving equals unworthy. And so a lot of young people that get into business also have either had their parents highly value their academic results or sports results, and somewhat through their own through what they've taken on from their lineage, from their parents and their parents and their parents, just through the lineage, their parents are just conditionally loving them in a way. because they're like really attached to their results. And then they've got this psyche that says, I'm worthy when I'm succeeding. And so that's a risk. This is a flavor that I think is important to mention with this in terms of people being patient. I feel like it's important to mention that if you're rapidly scaling to $1 million a year, your goal is to do that you don't fall into the trap of feeling deflated or inflated, meaning I'm worse than or I'm better than, because that's what happened with me. And before my business took off, I was feeling like, oh, I'm doing such a bad job. I'm sucking and I'm going to work so damn hard. I'm going to get to the point where I become a winner, like David Goggins. I'm the baddest motherfucker on the planet. Or Grant Cardone. I'm the best in the fucking world at this thing. And I'm essentially better than you. I'm helping you guys be less schmuckish and more awesome like me. And that's the same kind of like loop that I was operating in. Before I made my business successful, I felt like shit. Then I worked damn hard to make it successful. And I felt fucking better than other people. And then as I went through hardship, that conditional self-worth crumbled because it was never based on an unconditional foundation of self-love. So I would say that it's important for you, if you're a young entrepreneur, to start building a sense of self. Like have your own fucking, be the own decider of how you see yourself and how you feel about yourself, for who you are, and just like honor yourself for who you are. Meaning if you go through a chapter where you're feeling kind of tired or you're struggling for motivation, instead of thinking like I'm sucking and until I break through this, I'm still a loser, which I know you wouldn't obviously say that to yourself probably out loud, but it's a subtle feeling of not doing good enough. Just check that and say, is that really freedom? Is that really power? Is that really what you're doing this journey for? And how can you establish a more grounded sense of self where you feel like, yeah, I'm fucking awesome right now for who I am because I'm just a beautiful person. I know my hobbies. I know where I grew up. I know what I like. I know what I don't like. And I know that I just love who I am. And having that foundation, because in business long term, this is one of the biggest deciding factors on someone's long-term capacity to be an entrepreneur. Because most entrepreneurs and business owners, again, are wired to feel worthy based on being given significance from their parents or being seen and feeling like they're doing a good job. So the moment they stop doing it, doing a good job or being recognized, or they go through a hard patch, then they implode. There's no fucking fortitude and unconditional character and resilience that comes from knowing who the fuck you are. If you know who you are, then when you're going up the staircase to success, it's easier to wait for the 20th step because you're not thinking, fuck, what are my friends going to think of me if this one doesn't work? It's been 3 months now. My parents are kind of questioning whether I should go back to uni. My parents are saying, why don't you get a job? You're like, hey, I love you, mom and dad. Thanks for looking out for me. I'm really happy with where I'm at. I'm not expecting myself to get results right now. I'm doing my best. I know I'm going to do this for life. And I know I'm going to break through because I'm resilient. And it's not hard to break through. I just got to learn the skills and I'm going to learn them over time. The person that's got that attitude is unbeatable. But the person that's like, oh, how do I get it to work? It's not working. Like it presupposes this deep insecurity and doubt in one's ability to break through. If you know you're going to break through and you know you're awesome and you've got that stability of self-worth, that allows the patience, and that is unbreakable. And that's going to lead people to be able to just definitely get to $1 million, even if it takes 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. You'll get there because you keep showing up. Yeah, I think that's an important flavor alongside like attachment to input, detachment to outcome, a prerequisite for that.
Really curious to talk about
Yeah.
So what are you going to do differently, or how is it much different?
Ooh, good question, Bo. Bo said like, I mentioned that I want to get to 1.2 million in the next 12 months. If I made $1 million in 10 months when I was 21, now I'm 29, obviously weren't a bit about business. What would I do differently? A few things. One is that I care more about profit than I do about vanity metrics. I care because when I did $1 million in 10 months, I did $1 million in sales. That wasn't all cash received because I was trying to feel like I was doing a good job. I didn't actually want to hit my goal. Like I didn't actually care as much about what the real result was. I cared more about trying to feel good about myself, trying to feel worthy. Like I was trying to invisibly please my dad without realizing it at the time, obviously. Whereas now, like I'm doing this, I actually want to get the best return. So I'm less concerned with how like many sales I get and more concerned with like how much money is in my bank account at the end of it all. So like this time round, I will say no a lot more to people in terms of certain clients that I work with, and which can be tough. Like people get triggered by that even. Like in the past, it was like this belief that, you know, I'm just going to work with everyone and just help as many people as possible and I can break every single person through. But I didn't have like an understanding of what a fair exchange was. I was more like hoping that everyone could just get a breakthrough really quickly. Whereas this time, I won't work with many people that don't pay me up front or don't get a proof of finance. And unless I can really see that there's a long-term grounded stability to their character where they're going to keep showing up. And I know that if I channel my efforts into making sure they break through, and I don't work with someone unless I know that I can break them through and get them fucking a massive return, unless I know that I can help that person and that they've got the stability and resilience and patience and those qualities that I was talking about, or at least they've got an attitude of open-mindedness and humility, hungry, humble, and smart. Just hungry, humble. If they're hungry, humble, and smart, and I go, okay, cool. They're receptive and open to be able to learn, then I'd probably work with them. Then I probably wouldn't. Yeah, I probably wouldn't work with them. I'll ramp up and spend more quicker this time when it comes to like ads, for example, because like initially I was just like doing a lot of organic stuff for a while. It took me a while to get ads working, and I was launching all the ad campaigns myself. So this time I'll just hire someone. I'm much more aware now of my genius zone. So where I'm good at and what I like to do and shit that I just don't want to do. And I'm happy to like let's say I'm paying you to help with this. Whereas like at the start, I would have edited the podcasts myself to save the money. Whereas now I'm just like, I'll spend that, and I'm more intentional with where I'm moving. And this is me doing it again, but I don't necessarily recommend that everyone does this because I have the awareness that was built through experience of trying a bunch of different things and doing the shit kicker stuff, like the more manual, outsourceable work. I recommend that people do that to begin with so that they can build the character of like, so they can transcend the entitlement. But I'll do that. And I'll what else do I do differently? Not a huge amount more than that, I don't think. No, I know one thing. The big thing that's different for me now is the way that I feel about myself navigating it. So say, for example, if I work with somebody in the past, if a client was like struggling for results, it would just eat up at me. And like if someone said something negative, it would trigger a deep insecurity within me that I wasn't good enough and I wasn't delivering. Whereas like what I've found from working with like so many fucking people is that people, this is like transitioning into the next episode, which we're not going to do on this, but it's relevant. Like you're going to be judged no matter what happens. And in the past, when I ran a business, I was kind of owned by the client's perception of me. I was owned of my perception of the people that followed the brand's perception of me, what I thought they thought of me. I was owned by that. So I didn't just be myself and do whatever and know that there was inherent value in what I'd created and who I was. I was constantly taking other people's feedback literally because I didn't have my own stable sense of self. And that really fucked with my ability to be consistent. And I'd spent all this time trying to make the program better and better and better. And that energy of like desperation to please and make our product good, it was like a cancer in the mind of the king. Like if I was the king of that thing, instead of being stable and setting boundaries and creating a clean, stable energy for the mastermind that I ran with a fuckload of clients in, when people said, this isn't right, you should change this, I'd say, fuck you, you're wrong. But then I'd go away and I'd be eaten up by it. And then that energetic resonance in my body leaked out, and people energetically didn't feel stable in the enterprise as a client because I wasn't feeling good about it. I didn't have this deep sense of reverence and gratitude for what I created, where I was like, this is amazing. I feel epic about this. Guys, we're in Switzerland right now at this retreat. How fucking amazing is this? I was more like guys, you got to hustle. You got to get results. You got to move quicker, because I was scared that they weren't going to get results, and I was scared they were going to like complain. And so I was coming from fear, and that fear leaked into their minds. And so I didn't have like a good sense of groundedness in who I was, the value that I had, like I would have now. And therefore I enabled myself to get distracted, and I enabled people to project onto me, and that impacted me. And now like I'll create something that I know is good value. I'll work with people that I know that can take that value and make it more valuable. And therefore, I'll have a much more stable business that provides more stable returns, where I can get a better result doing what I love easier. So I think that'll be the difference. Awesome. Feeling like we're going to wrap up here. So I'd love to hear from you guys and just go, what I want to say first is, one thing that I'm going to give myself some credit for as a human on the growth journey is that I'm incredibly solid at I'm a really good client. When I work with a coach, I'm really open and humble, and I really listen, and I really listen. And I've noticed that, coming back to the character of people that do and don't get results, people are constantly looking for complexity. It's what I notice. Like if I work with people, I get them results, but I don't appease their intellects. Meaning like there's parts of them that are frustrated by the simplicity, but they get results. It's like I did a coaching session with a client the other day. I reviewed one of his sales goals, and he was like, I found the reason that he's not closing. And I gave him feedback within the first 2 minutes of the sales call recording of like an hour to 90-minute recording. I watched 2 minutes of it, and I already knew why he wasn't closing. And I spent the whole hour back and forthing with him, explaining, giving examples, and really giving him the ticket to breaking through. But this person that's quite intellectual got to a point where he's feeling a bit uneasy, and he's like, I really want to go through the rest of the more stuff. And I'm like, dude, you fucking got what you need to close at a higher level. But he doesn't want the simplicity. And so he doesn't actually want the results, because he's scared that he's not going to get the results. So it's coming from fear and control. No, we need to do this. We need to get it right. And I know that the content and stuff that I covered in this video/podcast episode, it's simple. Everything that I've said is relatively straightforward, and it's simple, easy but challenging to implement. And I really like, if you've got to this point of the podcast episode, I've already got a massive amount of respect, because I just know from experience that people overlook and let it wash over them, and just like in one ear, out the other when it comes to this sort of thing. What I said in this, because I've created over 400 hours of strategic business content for clients when it comes to like exactly how to do lead generation, how to do sales calls, every single step, how to handle every single objection, how to hire, how to create job descriptions, how to build a solid culture, what to look for when you're hiring an executive, what's the stages of hires for a coaching business. Every single thing you can possibly imagine, I've created tutorials on how to do headlines, how to do copywriting, how to set up a Facebook ad, how to do LinkedIn marketing, YouTube marketing, fucking everything, technical thing. And people are obsessed with the technical things, the strategy, the tools, the hacks, the tactics. But that means shit. If you're obsessed with that, you've already lost. What we covered in this podcast episode is what makes the difference. Like that staircase to success is one example. If that's followed, and you can allow that part of you, the intellect, which is the part of your mind that feels safe through control and needing to know all the details, the part that's like, yeah, but how? I need to know how. How's the next step? But I don't know where to go from this podcast episode from here. That part that's feeling scared because it wants control. If you can be aware of that and put that to the side and allow that concept of the staircase to success to settle in your nervous system and in your field, and you actually implement it, you will hit $1 million in your business. You will. But very little people listen to this podcast and then let that sit and then implement it. Most people will just be like, okay, what do I need to know now? And then the intellect takes over, the part that wants control, the part that feels scared, that needs to know more. And so my encouragement and opportunity is, please give yourself permission to let these concepts land. And don't be fooled by simplicity. Don't be fooled by simplicity, because there's no way round. And that's what a lot of people are looking for, the way round. Like the staircase to success requires the embracing of fear and constant change and doing new stuff. That feels scary. I don't like change. I don't like new stuff. I don't like a lot of the things that I'm going to have to do $1.2 million in the next 12 months, because it involves me feeling really uncomfortable. But I know that if I don't do it, I'm not going to get results. And I know that because I've been through and been involved with so many businesses and coached so many people and done it myself. And like, trust me, if I could have a hack to hijack the process and just like transcend and teleport to the other end, I would. But I'm telling you guys through experience, it's not like that. So please let these concepts sink in, because you deserve to make it. You deserve to make it, and you can make it. And I know some people say, not everyone's cut out for entrepreneurship. I kind of disagree with that. I feel like anyone that feels the call to be involved has the capacity, because it's not something that's objectively hard. It doesn't, like, people are like, oh, it takes X, Y, and Z to make it work. It takes the capacity to be courageous. But everyone has the capacity to be courageous, because no one's nervous system is different than anyone else's. Everyone's nervous system feels fear in the form of like all the hormones, the stress hormones, adrenaline, cortisol. It pumps through all of our bodies the same. We've got like a parasympathetic and a sympathetic nervous system. And Bo, yours is the same as mine. And you that is listening, yours isn't different to mine. It's not like you feel fear differently in your body than I do in mine. We both have the same system, like our heartbeats, but it's not like you've got an extra, like you don't have an aorta and you've got different arteries that go from the heart to pump blood around the body. It's exactly the fucking same. Our biology is the same. And fear and stress and the stress hormones in response to change is the same in all of us. And so it's not like someone has a greater capacity than somebody else. Our nervous systems are the same. And we can learn to embrace it. That's the only difference with an entrepreneur that is going through change. And so if you feel called, if it's not aligned for you, I understand that maybe it's not for you. But if it feels expansive to you, it doesn't matter where you've started. Because I was super socially anxious, and people would be like, as a teenager, and just like couldn't talk, couldn't do speeches without my hands shaking so much, or I'd just avoid them. Couldn't public speak. I was very anxious socially and couldn't talk to women. And what changed? All that changed is I was courageous to kind of practice and become comfortable by doing the things that scared me. And I have the capacity to be courageous, just like everyone else does. And so everyone has the capacity. You have the capacity, if you're listening to this, to make it work. You just have to take these principles on and be kind and patient to yourself, and just know that you're doing a good job for where you're at, no matter what, and have that baseline of self-worth. So that's what I'd say. And I would love to hear what you got from the episode. So shoot me a message at @TheRyanMagic on Instagram and let me know what landed for you, and say hey, and I'd love to connect. And that's it. Thanks, Bo. Really great questions, man. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.